this evening in the absence of Councillor Gary White, the normal chairman. Councillor White's got an unavoidable work commitment, and that's why he's not here. There are apologies. The first apology actually is from Councillor Moss, who's recently elected and been appointed by the Labour group to this scrutiny committee. I'm told by Jeff Durham that Councillor Moss has got a commitment tonight that was made before he was elected, and so he does send his apologies. And Councillor Jones is acting as a substitute. But I do make the point as to why he's not here. It's just that obviously he was elected and had another appointment. The other apologies that we have are from Councillor Andy Fear, portfolio holder, but Councillor Sweeney will take those questions and introduce the relevant paper and answer any questions, of course, from members. Other apologies are, I mentioned Councillor White, Councillor Wheeldon is deputising, Councillor Johnson's not here, Councillor Holland is deputising, and Councillor Skelding is not here, and Councillor John Tagg is deputising. That completes the apologies. Before I go on, what I would also like to say, and I'll take it here because it avoids complications later, there is a subgroup and there's a report from it in the pack. It was Councillor Sue Moffat was on the group. The Labour group have agreed that Councillor Richard Gorton will join the subgroup to replace Councillor Sue Moffat. And thank you very much, Councillor Gorton, for agreeing to do that. And I'm sure that we will have more productive discussions at the two meetings that we envisage coming. Right, so that completes agenda item 1. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Sorry. Pardon? Oh yeah, sorry. I'll take declarations of interest and I'll read the statement. Thank you. I have a statement from Councillor White, but any declarations of interest from either officers or members? No, that's fine. Right, so Councillor White has sent me a statement that he would ask me to read out. Members, please, and I'm reading it as he sent it. Members, please excuse my non-attendance this evening, which is due to a business commitment. At the last meeting, HS2 was scrutinised and we deliberated at length regarding the empty properties in Whitmore and Madeley. We challenged HS2 to provide transparency and an action plan to ensure the properties were rented out as much as possible. Following a half-day meeting and walking the area and houses contained, the summary of the current situation and plan is: Whitmore Heath, there are 16 properties already let by HS2 and 20 vacant. Of these, 8 are either being marketed or will be marketed this side of Christmas. 4 have refurbishment underway and a further 8 are planned. Madeley, 6 properties are let and 8 are vacant. Of these, 4 are held for construction and will be demolished. The other 4 are being refurbished to be let within the next 6 months. A monthly update will be provided to myself and Councillor Bryan as the ward councillors. The monthly update, of course, will come from HS2. So that's a statement that I was sent and asked to read, which I trust members are content with and note. Thank you. Moving on now to item 3, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of June. I, of course, can't really comment too much because I did send apologies to that meeting, but I'm sure others will be able to note any points. So on the first page? No. The second page? The third page? The fourth page? The 5th page. 6th page. 7th page. 8th page and 9th page. Okay, so there are no comments on the minutes. So can we take the minutes as a true and accurate record? Thank you. That's agreed unanimously. Thank you. I now move on to agenda item 5, which is the corporate. Sorry. Agenda item 4. I do apologise. Thank you. With regards to agenda item 4, it's because I didn't have a piece of paper in my pack. I apologise to members. You can tell that I'm not practiced at this. So with regards to agenda item 4, update from Cabinet on items raised by the committee, I don't believe there are any. Councillor Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I've not been given anything, and I've gone through the minutes from the previous the fees meeting. I didn't see anything that would call for on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That completes 4. Do members have any comments on 4 before I move on? No. Okay, fine. Thank you. So now moving on to agenda item 5, when I got ahead of myself. This is the corporate leadership's report to Cabinet, and this will be taken by Councillor Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the report that went to full council last night. Went to Cabinet on the Tuesday, full council last night. It's coming tonight, and it is also going on Monday night. Do I need to say anything else about this, or do you want to ask me some questions, or shall I pass you to the officer who can discuss the plans in Kidsgrove, which we didn't really discuss last night? Last night was more focused on capital centric in Newcastle, wasn't it? Which is what this paper is. But if you want an update for the Kidsgrove side of things, I'll be free to give it. Yeah, go on.
Just a question from me. This company are based in Manchester, and I know they've done a lot of work for Manchester City. They're currently doing work for Stockport and Stoke-on-Trent. How can we be sure that, I mean, if you look at Manchester City, it's a lot bigger than Newcastle. How can we be certain that these developers are the right for Newcastle, for a town like ourselves? And have they got the capacity to deal with the demand, as well as obviously currently dealing with Stockport and Stoke-on-Trent as well?
Yeah, I feel very confident they have got the capacity. I think they're very excited about Newcastle. I think they see it a great avenue to it. It's a smaller scheme than in Stoke, and it's smaller than in Stockport, or indeed in Manchester. But they specialise in doing up old buildings. The fact they're going to reuse a chunk of the old framework for the York Place, I think, is encouraging. And I'm very keen on them, as I think I made out last night. But obviously, till we sign any final sort of contracts, everything will be watertight by the time we do it. Although at the moment, on Tuesday, we just signed the opening part of it, which is doing the plans, the development. Nothing. We will then move on. At the moment, they're just contracts to do the opening plans and nothing else at the moment. But we got, if we want to change it, we can.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sweeney, and thank you for answering that question. Does the Chief Executive want to add anything at this point?
If you want to ask any questions, that's absolutely fine.
Councillor Gordon.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask a question really about taking York Place forward. Now, when the planning committee discussed the application back in the summer, I think members were very impressed. We liked what we saw. It was a good design. I think consistently, it's had a lot of very positive comments. We like the openness. I think we were led to believe that there was very little worth keeping there, and it would be great to start again. Now, I notice with the venture company, one of their great sort of selling points is conservation and reusing parts of buildings. I wonder to what extent we will be able to, under possibly new regime, to sort of protect the really good design that the planning committee discussed back in June, back in the summer, and strongly supported, or is that sort of under a jeopardy now?
Thank you, Councillor. No, I don't think it is. I think the only real difference I see is it's £3 or £4 million less because they're going to reuse some of the stuff and saving the carbon footprint and all this sort of thing. It's a lot of the steel works. I think they can reuse. But when you look at the pictures they've done, it's very similar to what we planned before. And I think I've probably said before, I said it in this committee, I think, that if you go to the museum, there's an aerofilms of a picture of Newcastle. And what is going in its place of York Place is very similar to what came out sort of 50 odd years ago. And the initial sketches, if you like, because it's early days yet, they'll do all the CGI stuff and all these fancy things in the future. But certainly I think what is going in is broadly similar to what came out 50 odd years ago, and is very, very similar to what the plans that you've already seen.
Councillor Panther.
Thank you, Chair. Could I ask Councillor Sweeney, could you please re-quote the figures you quoted at Council last night about the cost of having this company? I couldn't remember what it was.
I think the initial contract's been signed for 256,000 for the initial scoping works, up to 256,000.
Yes, thanks very much, Chair. What I would ask as well, I think it was asked last night about the actual, just to building that obviously to get the burrowing down over the longer term. But it was asked about the land, about if that was commercially put in there as well. I know that's something going to come back to. Is that something that's going to be done fairly soon to everybody? Okay, thank you.
The value for the land will be put into the model. So yes, the land value will be part of the equation when we work out the cost versus the value, because what Capital and Centric have done is they'll either pay us the cost or the value, whichever is greater, and the land value will be in that equation.
Thank you, Chair. Like other colleagues, I'm fairly glad that Capital and Centric, having worked in places like Manchester and Stoke-on-Trent, is feeling able to step up to work in Newcastle under Lyme as a bigger, more serious project for that delivery partner. I'm also interested in the reuse of the existing bones of York Place. I think one of the great shames is that we have buildings that have such a short lifespan these days, and if it's possible to save money and to advance the regeneration of our town centre by reusing the bones of what's there already, that's a fantastic move. I think we should welcome and encourage it. I did see some of the social media that was put out by the administration earlier in the week about this, perhaps even last week now, and it did attract one or two of the usual cynical comments about design. What sort of steer is the administration giving on design for this project? Because there are some phenomenal suggestions which I can also make available to our officers and to our portfolio holder if they'd like to hear them.
The basis of our design is the one that we've got for planning. So the fantastic design and the aspirations behind that are very much our baseline for what we'll be expecting from Capital and Centric coming forward. It will look different because it's going to be slightly different by virtue of the fact that we're building it differently. But the shape, the context, and will be very much taken forward by Capital and Centric. And that was one of the things that they liked about the fact that our project, that we had such a clear vision for what we wanted, and they were able to add value to that and make it even better.
My apologies if I didn't see you earlier.
Thank you, Jane. No, that's absolutely fine. I was just confused because you said Councillor Holland and looked at me. We don't look too dissimilar. I've got two questions, if that's permissible. One on Capital and Centric, and one that's a bit wider. In terms of capital and centric, and this builds on previous comments by councillors, they're a company that's used to producing these kind of developments in Manchester and Stockport, both quite big metropolitan areas with a different population demographic, a different public servicing offering within the urban centre. It's how confident both cabinet member and lead officer for this feel that they can translate to Newcastle, which is a very different type of town, noting that whilst they are in Stoke-on-Trent, it's a differing location. It's outside of the town centre, and it's not yet completed. So we're unsure how that's going to work for them afterwards with ownership of the development. And then one second question after that, if that's okay, Chair.
So you can come back on the second question if, sorry, yeah, come back on the second question. We'll deal with the first one.
So if you would, the Capital Centric, whilst they work in big cities, they also work in small towns. I'm just pulling up their proposal to us, and it gives an indication of the other areas that they've worked in. I didn't want to give you the wrong names of the town. So they do work in Manchester. They're working in Piccadilly East, which is also centre of Manchester. But what they're also doing, they're working out in Salford. They're working out in Sheffield, Stockport, Stoke-on-Trent, Bolton, where they've demolished the council have demolished an old shopping centre and they're reproviding. And there was one, I think it's near Bury, so they are working in areas that are out of the city centre. They have had a successful track record in those areas, and they're now progressing that track record into Stoke. They're very confident about what they can achieve in Stoke, but they are ridiculously excited about what they can do with us in Newcastle. One, because the council has been so supportive in terms of listening to what they have to say, but having a mind to what we want. They don't, and the fact that we are open to business and we're very quick to respond, they don't tend to get that with smaller councils. So we have every confidence that they will put a good proposal together for us to consider before we take it to the next stage.
Add one other point. In say in the Manchester place, for example, they don't just have an old mill that's got flats in it. They also develop out of town places where once you're married, you've got a couple of kids, you don't live in a flat in town, you want to move on, and they also do that. You're in with them. It's a journey through life, if you like. This is their sort of ethos that you're with them and you just go with them. I know, but it's really, really exciting. It's really taken me, and the one I just can't wait to see what the ideas are for the Midway car park. I mean, what on earth you do with a crumbling 1960s monstrosity like that? I absolutely can't wait to see what they're going to come up with.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, Councillor Jones, that gives you the reassurance on that point. Your second question, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just before I move on to my second question, would it be possible for members to receive a copy of the proposal, even if redacted, so we could have a look through that? That'd be really interesting. My second question is more general. Obviously, as you read through this paper, you see a significant amount of development work ongoing in the town centre over the next couple of years. The question's in two parts. The first question is, how confident are we that all aspects, so that includes all aspects of the Rycroft, all aspects of York Place, all aspects of the Midway, are going to be completed? And could you talk me through the time frame for when you anticipate each part of that to be completed? Thank you.
I'm very confident that all the sites will be developed. It's like every journey in life. It's, you probably don't know, so I'm a Birmingham City season ticket holder, and Birmingham City have got two stands in the bottom seat. They've been shut for a couple of years because they were badly made, and they've got a group called the Buckingham Group have come in to make them good. These and the Buckingham Group are doing a great job, fantastic job, and they just gone bump. So Birmingham's doing that to employ another contractor to come and do it. So it gets done. So nothing trying to say is nothing just goes like that. There's always ups and downs in it. It's a flexible sort of feast. But I'm extremely confident that everything on these sites will be done. Yes, absolutely. Do you want 2 timescales?
Timescales will be dependent on the proposals we get through. We're working with Kaplan Centric on York Place and Midway with their, hopefully by Christmas, their initial plans and costings will come through. Then it'll be a question of the next phase. If we then commission them to do the next phase, will be another 6 to 8 months of design work, taking it through a replanning application. We'll probably take York Place through first, with a view to taking Midway second, because what we want to do as soon as the 44-week program for the car park on Rycroft is finished and that is operational, we'll then want to then crack on with the Midway, because we'll be closing that immediately upon the new car park opening. So I don't think we'll be seeing anything on either sites probably towards the back end of 24, early 25. It depends on the construction period. You're probably talking anywhere between 12 and 18 months. We haven't had that confirmed by Kaplan Centric. So during 25, 26, those works will be ongoing on those 2 sites. Across to the Rycroft, we've got the car park starting now, and then we're now working with our partners to see which bits of land they want for their various elements. And we'll then have to go through the planning application process for that. So I think that will probably follow on. I doubt it would be in parallel just because of the amount of work that will be going on at one time. We think we probably want to stage it. So we'd probably open Midway first, because that'll probably be the easier, because York Place will probably take a little bit longer. I don't know. We need to speak to Kaplan Centric about that. And then we'll be starting York, the Rycroft works around 26, I should imagine, 25, the end of 25, early 26 probably. But that's all gut feel estimates, because we haven't had programs submitted for each of those schemes yet.
Yeah, thank you for that. I suspect that the Scrutiny Committee would very much welcome an update along the lines that have just been mentioned at the December meeting. If you could ask for that, please. Thank you very much. I assume you're content, Councillor Jones. Councillor Wielden. Does Councillor Sweeney or the Deputy Chief Executive wish to comment?
No, other than to reiterate what an exciting scheme it is, and how Kaplan Centric are absolutely buzzing with the options they've got in Newcastle, and they're really looking forward to crack on with it. I can't wait myself. Thank you.
Any further points? Okay, well, thank you for that. We will have an update for the December meeting on the points that have been raised as timetable. I mean, obviously, these things are being developed. Councillor Grocott.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Is there going to be an update on Kids Grove as well? Is anything we're going to bring on that one, please?
There can be. I'll pass over to the officer for that because I was more involved with the Newcastle part.
Kids Grove Town deal is progressing. There are some bumps along the way. Chastity Valley, for example, which is part of the Kids Grove Town deal, as Steve mentioned, Buckingham Group, who were doing the groundworks for Chastity Valley for the Lucidian project for Harworth, have unfortunately gone into administration, and Harworth are now in the process of appointing a new contractor to finish off the groundworks, which will probably push progress 2 to 3 months behind where we thought we were. Which gives us a little bit more time to work with Lucidian on their unit that we're proposing to put up with them, etc. The station works at Kids Grove is still under some discussion with Network Rail around the foundation works of the car park. So that's gone right to the top in terms of the chairman of National Rail, but it's not National Rail, it's Network Rail, sorry. The shared service hub, we are working up designs with a view to awarding a contract to get that on the ground as soon as we can. We're going to have to do some land acquisitions, which we've got signed, we've agreed the prices, etc. So that's ticking along quite nicely. The other things in Kids Grove we've delivered, which was the sports centre.
Okay, thank you. This agenda item 5 is closed. I move now on to agenda item 6. This is basically provided to the scrutiny group for information in terms of, I'm sure the committee wants to know that we've actually been making progress. The critical thing is that the intention is a submission to this scrutiny committee on the 7th of December of a final report. And then you've got the dates of the meetings that'll be taking place. The work does have unanimous cross-party support. I don't know if Councillor Grocott would wish to say anything or not.
Chair, yeah, I mean, basically we've met on a couple of occasions. Everything has been amicable. The actual group is actually getting the results I think it was set out for. Seen a massive improvement from all the local housing suppliers and everything like that. So yeah, hopefully it continues like that, and it just builds for the future of the actual borough. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Grocott. Councillor Edgingham-Plunkett.
Just want to pass on my thanks really for somebody who doesn't sit on this working group. Me other fellow councillors do. It's great to see quite, a really detailed report come through this evening that we can read. And, I think it's really important, especially with the, the volume of people that do rent the houses from these housing providers, that we are getting updates from them. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Just like to acknowledge the section on at the request of the working group Aspire giving a presentation to all councillors on progress and whatnot. I think that's a really positive step, and I'd like to thank the working group for making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those words, Councillor Jones. Any final points before we move on? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7, which is the Borough Local Plan update. This will be taken by Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Fear regrets not being able to be here because of an unavoidable commitment that came up. But I'm sure Councillor Sweeney will be able to hold the fort. Thank you.
Your faith in me. I do appreciate that. Yeah, at the last meeting of this committee, I think we said we'd bring an update as to where we are with the responses, of which we've had quite a lot. That's all listed down in the papers. That really is about as far as my knowledge of this goes. I think for the more up-to-date information, perhaps if I pass you to Mr. Clark. Are you going to do it? Okay, Alan, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Good evening, members. Since the last meeting, we consulted on the first draft local plan for a period of 8 weeks through June and August. The consultation was held in line with our statement of community involvement, which included a lot of things, including publishing documents online and in local libraries and customer service centres. We've advertised the consultation, displayed site notices, enabled responses to be submitted to us via our online portal, but importantly via email and letter also. And we've held a programme of 11 exhibition events as well across the borough, as set out in paragraph 2.4 and the table below that in the pack. As Councillor Sweeney said, there's been a strong response to the local plan and its proposals. And this is an interim position that we've outlined in the report, simply because we, as officers, are still in the process of registering a number of consultation responses that have been submitted to us, and it gives a sense or an idea of the magnitude of that in paragraph 2.6 of the report. Whereas we've received quite a high number of email and letters, which we're now taking the time to register on our portal and publish onto our website so everyone can see what's been said about the plan. And some indicative figures provided in paragraph 2.7, although we note also that due to the fact that an email might include comments on a number of parts of the document, it's difficult to provide exact figures at this stage, but it's more of an interim position. And we've also had a number of petitions submitted, one that was considered at full council in July regarding the council's housing targets, a petition regarding sites at Newcastle and Harris Head, and a similar petition regarding sites in Torque and Red Street. And then finally, a written petition which was mentioned at Cabinet the other day by several local businesses relating to the Highstreet car park. So those will be considered as consultation responses as part of any other consultation response to the first draft local plan. So as outlined in paragraph 2.9, we are registering, publishing, and then we will go on to analyse responses received to form our views and evidence in preparing the next stage of the local plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I mean, obviously, the one of the petitions did cause some significance, and that clearly is being taken into account, 2.9, 210. And so as far as the petitions are concerned, they are on the table, they are being considered as part of the responses. And I think that is actually quite important given the number of signatures on one of them. Can I ask members for questions and comments, please?
Could I just ask if proportionality has been taken into account in the consultation with how many people have actually made complaints or have been on the pessimistic side of things compared with the volume of actually people that it could impact on as a whole for the residential area?
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. We've not really got to that stage yet because we're still collating information. This is a sort of snapshot in time, and we've not got to that stage yet. Is that right, Alan? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Councillor Edgington-Plunkett.
Thank you. Can an officer please confirm that at the consultation events, feedback forms and the ways to report were really publicised for the residents to raise their views? And also just another comment of a few residents that I've emailed and contacted myself. Really just a point that the consultation events were we're between 5 and 7, apart from the one at the Borough, and I have read it here at Castle House, and I think it was from 10 till 6. And they just raised that a lot of them didn't get in from work, until just after 6. And then the time they've may have got changed, had tea, during the normal tea time, that maybe the future consultations, those hours might be extended. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. These were publicised well in advance. I think personally that we took 8 weeks over this consultation, which is 2 weeks longer than we need to. And I think, we've got a fair few responses. So I think our consultation system that we use is something that we can be justifiably proud of personally.
Confirm that comments forms were available at the exhibition events and were handed out, and also that wouldn't have constrained people responding anyway, because they could just submit an email or a letter to us, and that was made clear in all correspondence in relation to the local plan.
I actually attended the one at Madeley, which was went on into the evening and was quite well attended and quite informative. Councillor Gorton.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, must thank the officers. I think it's good to have a summary of where we are. It's a good overview. Very valuable. I've got a couple of questions. The one question really is about the decision really to hold drop-in events rather than perhaps a more formal presentation where people would come along and they would hear presentation from officers and perhaps cabinet members. Drop-in event probably worked okay in Wolstanton because, to be honest, we haven't got the intense public interest oversights that you have in other parts of the borough. So very interested to know about the decision to have drop-in events. Did you keep that format everywhere, or was it ever changed? And what sort of feedback have you had from residents who attended the events as to how comfortable they were with that particular format? My last question, Chairman, really is about where do we go from here in terms of this committee? Note in the work programme, we've got a session in December. What format will that take? What sort of analysis will we be presented with? Can the officers give us some sort of insight at this stage of our involvement at the next meeting?
If you're content, could we take that question under the work plan? Sure. Simply because the borough plan is down as an agenda item for the December meeting, and I think it'd be better when we run through that for the answer. Is that okay? Fine, thank you. Councillor Jones. Sorry? Sorry, I do apologise to you.
I only went to the Guildhall one because it's part of my county division and the town centre is, and there were only 19 people there. The people there were very engaged and enjoyed speaking to people. And I got no negativity of them over the process. Might not have liked what we were doing, but there was no negativity over the way it was doing. They were perfectly happy to. But that's the only one I went to. I think Alan could probably fill you in on more because he'd have gone to most of them.
Yeah, attended all the events. In terms of the question about was the format the same everywhere? Yes, with the exception of the Newcastle and Lyme library one, which was by appointment only, and that was a one-to-one discussion. In terms of the drop-in events, we are following our statement of community involvement as agreed by the council, and that clearly sets out that we'll be holding exhibitions when we talk about local plan proposals. I suppose my only comment about drop-in events versus formal presentation is that the drop-in events allow people who may not feel as comfortable asking questions in a more formal environment surrounded by lots of people, whereas they may have felt more comfortable approaching officers on a one-to-one basis and asking their questions and seeking clarifications that way.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of, I remember when we got to this point just after this point with the joint local plan, and we were looking at the consultee responses. Just check that we as councillors will be able to receive the consultee responses to have a look through that. And secondly, when we had this previously, it was broken down with some context to it, so we could see which was a response from a resident, which was what was a response from a landowner, and that was incredibly helpful, because as we were looking through the comments, you would see these exceptionally well drafted, very verbose comments, and then when you realize the context, you realize that this is a landowner whose sites hadn't been included in the plan, and this is where an agent had been paid to make a submission for them. I found that last time incredibly useful to really understand and weight where the comments were coming from, because obviously, dependent on how you want to look at it, you might weight a comment from a resident more than you might weight a comment from a landowner who might live in Scotland and is obviously seeking to put the land in the plan. So it's just really confirmation that we will get those the raw comments, and that there will be some context behind them.
Yes, so first of all, it's important to say that on the consultation portal itself, once all the comments have been registered, there'll be the raw comments there, so people can engage with that as they see fit. They can go to different parts of the document and see all the comments received, so they can get a sense themselves about resident comments or those submitted from the development industry or infrastructure providers or such like. It's difficult to really, we'll certainly reflect on that feedback in terms of how we present the comments next stage, but as Councillor Sweeney outlined earlier, we're not quite at that point yet, but we will be looking to summarise the main issues raised and present that to members in the most appropriate form.
Any other points? Councillor Grocott.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points that have been brought up in Talk, Highstreet and Audley, actually. A lot of people were very disappointed with the portal once again. Wonder if we have the technology that can be able to tell us how many people actually could not get through and actually just abandon it. I think that's why I had a lot of emails from what I've been told, especially, like I say, down in Audley. Second point is obviously just a bit of knowledge for people going forward. And a lot of, how can I put it, in the right way, people have been told all these sites are like done deals and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously not the fact. So can we just have a comment on that, so people just be reassured that they are being taken and considered rather than just ignored. Okay, thank you. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say thanks very much to Craig and Alan for coming out and supporting us. Thank you.
I think I'll pass it on to you, Alan, for that one. I think.
Thanks, and thank you for the feedback around the portal. We did try steps, including putting some instructions on in terms of how to assist people with making comments, and we strongly advertise the fact that anyone who struggled to use the portal, they had the fallback in terms of writing letters to us or emailing in. And I think that's emphasised in terms of the amount of emails and letters we received, so people were able to engage with the process. It's certainly, none of this is a done deal, as we've outlined. It's a first draft of a process, and there are various, we will be considering all the responses received and presented that to members, so there'll be that member input and that member steer. But ultimately, also through preparing a local plan, there's an independent inspection by a planning inspector and an examination process that will test the council as to how it's used its evidence to get to the conclusions that are included in any future local plan. And people who make representations at that stage also have the opportunity to engage with that process also. So yeah, we're at a very early stage of this process.
Yeah, so thanks for that too, Alan. Just, it might be worth just noting that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you put something on the website or literature, they can actually just tell residents, or somewhere we put community centres or different things like that, the actual process or the different processes, just to give kind of confidence to everybody what's the processes are and where we're going. I know time frame is a bit harder, but the actual kind of mechanisms, which would be good, I think. Okay, thank you.
Any points? No. Fine. Any other questions from members? Fine. Thank you. That then completes item 7. We now move on to agenda item 8, which is the work plan. With reference to the 7th of December, I've already said there'll be a report from the Housing Task and Finish working group as an item. There's no reason at this stage why that won't happen, given we've had the meetings and we've got a draft report coming to us as per the timetable, and we've got 2 meetings between now and then. So I'm confident that will happen. We then have a question on the borough plan, what is proposed, which was the outstanding question from Councillor Gorton. Could you just remind us as to the question?
In terms of taking things forward and members' input from this committee, when we meet on the 7th of December, what will we be confronted with in terms of reports, analysis, data? What can we expect?
Well, there'll be a report to cabinets when some of the officers have done their job with this, and I imagine that'll be the next thing you'll get to look at.
Any other comments on the 7th of December? Sorry, Councillor Grocott, if you've got the 7th of December.
No, just not something so much of that. I mean, obviously, just something I'm looking at there, Chair. And actually, it's not business, it's on the 7th, but for a long time, we've been on about this, the bed update. Now, it must be 15 months, to be honest, because we've had people, different changes and people off sick. Rather than having a presentation, I know there's an awful lot of work on there. Could we just have a written report, maybe a better way just going forward? Because you're certainly not going to get a bid report by myself, and I think Councillor Moffat must be 15, 18 months ago. We're asking for an update on the bid, and going forward, the 2 next ones, we certainly won't get a presentation. It's too heavy, the workload. So could we just have just a written agenda, possibly? Just an idea.
I can certainly ask the question for you. The bid, of course, is an independent from the Borough Council. So whether they do or not, I don't know. But I can certainly ask them the question. It seems perfectly reasonable to me.
Moving on then to the 18th of March. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Councillor Grocott beat me to it in terms of the bid. Yeah, and again, it'd be great to hear the work that they're doing. Thank you.
18th of March. No comments on that. I would ask members to note the special meeting. There will be a joint meeting with the Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee when appropriate. We obviously don't have a date for that. Any other comments on the work plan? Okay, well, we can regard that then as being accepted by members with the additions and then some more detail on the borough local plan. Thank you for that. Moving on to agenda item 9, which is the public questions. There are none advised. I'm advised there's no urgent business under item 10. So on that basis, the meeting is now closed. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance.